ஓம் புளியர்கோன் வெப்பொழித்த புகலியர்கோன் களல் போற்றி ஆழிமிசை கண்மிதப்பில் அணைந்த பிரான் அடி போற்றி வாழி திருநாவலூர் வன் தொண்டர் பதம் போற்றி ஊலிமலை திருவாத ஊரர் திருத்தாள் போற்றி வெடியதன் ஒரு உமை ஒளமிகு கரியது வெடியதன் ஒரு உமை கொளமிகு கரியது வடிகொடு தனதடி வழிபடும் அவரிடர்கடி கணபதி வர அருளின் நன்மிகு கொடை கடி கணபதி வர அருளின் நன்மிகு கொடை வடிவினர் பயில் வலி வலமுறை இறையே வடிவினர் பயில் வலி வலமுறை இறையே வலி வலமுறை இறையே நங்கடம்பன்னை பெற்றவள் பங்கினன் தென்கடம்பை திருக்கர கோவிலானம் கடம்பன்னை பெற்றவள் பங்கினன் தென்கடம்பை திருக்கர கோவிலான் தன்கடன் அடியேனையும் தாங்குதல் தன்கடன் அடியேனையும் தாங்குதல் என் கடன் பணி செய்து கிடப்பதே சமரசூரவன் மார்பை தடிந்த வேல் குமரன் தாதைனர் கொளம்பம் மேவிய அமரர் கோவினுக்கு அன்புடை தொண்டர்கள் அமரர் கோவினுக்கு அன்புடை தொண்டர்கள் அமரர் லோகமதாளுடையார்களே தோடுடைய செவியன் தோடுடைய செவியன் விடையேறி ஓர்த்துவன் மதிசூடி தோடுடைய செவியன் விடையேறி ஓர்த்துவன் மதிசூடி காடுடைய சுடலை காடுடைய சுடலை பொடி பூசியன் உள்ளம் கவர் கள்வன் காடுடைய சுடலை பொடி பூசியன் உள்ளம் கவர் கள்வன் ஏடுடைய மலரான் ஏடுடைய மலரான் முனை நாள் பணிந்தேத்த அருள் செய்த ஏடுடைய மலரான் முனை நாள் பணிந்தேத்த அருள் செய்த பீடுடைய பிரமாபூரம் வீடுடைய பிரமாபூரம் வீடுடைய பிரமாபூரம் மேவிய பெமான் இவனன்றே அருள் நெறிய மறைவல்ல முனியகன் தன் பொய்கை அலர்மேய அருள் நெறிய மறைவல்ல முனியகன் தன் பொய்கை அலர்மேய திருநெறிய பிரமாபுரம் திருநெறிய பிரமாபுரம் மேவிய பெம்மான் இவன் தன்னை ஒரு நெறிய மனம் வைத்துணர் ஞான சம்பந்தன் உரை செய்த சம்பந்தன் உரை செய்த சம்பந்தன் உரை செய்த திருநெறிய தமிழ் வல்லவர் திருநெறிய தமிழ் வல்லவர் தொல்வினை தீர்தல் எளிதாமே. சிவாய திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Om Nama Shivaya. Welcome to all of you online and devotees who are also here. We have Gayatri ji, Gayatri Kumar ji, she's here. And we also have family of Hemant ji here, Hemant ji, Rupesh ji and Jasmine, the daughter, they're here. And later on we will have Vidya Ganeshan ji join us, and also we have Shifali ji will come and join us later, and probably Annie and Ashram ji. So welcome, and as usual what we will do start with the Ganesh Puja, and after the Ganesh Puja we will do the Sankalpam. When we do the Sankalpam, those of you who are here will touch the flower tray and Vidya Mama just came. And those of you who are online, the flower tray will be shown on the screen, so you will touch the screen. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Atuna Hindrakshamantam Chitranghrabam Sangrubhaya Mahahasti Dakshinenam Vitmahitva Tuvikurmintu Videshnantu Vimagam Vimatramavobihim Nahitva Suradevanamartaha Soditsantam Bhimannagam Varayante Etonandran Stavhamesanam Vasvaswarajam Narada Samardisannaha Prasto Satupagasi Satsvatsamaghiyamanam Abhiradasa Jugurat Ano Bharadakshinena Abhisavyena Pramrsham Indramana Vasor Nirbhak Upakramasva Varadrshata Drishno Janana Ada Ashustarasya Vedaha Indraya Unute Astivaja Vipre Bhisanitva Asmabam Sutam Sanuhi Satyajuvaste Vaja Asmabhyam Vishwachandra Vashaishamakshu Jarante Nishashi Ida Ganapate Gane Sutva Mahar Vipratamam Kavhinam Narate Tvatkriyate Kinchanare Mahamarkam Bhagavan Chitramarcha Abhikyano Bhagavanadamanhan Sakhe Bodhivasupate Sakhinam Ranang Hridiranagrisatya Shushma Bhakte Cheda Bhajaraye Asman. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Om Gananantva Ganapatigam Avamahe Kavinka Vinamupamasravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashrinvan Otebhisidha Sadhanam. Om Asmin Bhimbe Mahaganadipatim Dhyayami. Dhyanam samarpayami avahayami asanam samarpayami Ratna Simhasanam samarpayami Mahaganadipataya namaha padayo padyam samarpayami asthayo argyam samarpayami मुखे आचमनीं समर्पयामि, मधुवर्कं समर्पयामि, पुनराचमनीं समर्पयामि, स्नापयामि, स्नानं समर्पयामि। एकदन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्ति प्रचोदयात्। ॐ गङ्गणपतये नमो नमः। स्नानान्तरवस्त्रार्थोपवीतार्थान् अक्षतान् समर्पयामि, आभरणहर्तान् अक्षतान् समर्पयामि, गन्धान् धारयामि, अन्धद्वारां दुराधर्षां नित्यपुष्टां करीषिणीं ईश्वरीगं सर्वभूतानां त्वामिहो बह्वये श्रियं गन्धोऽस्य प्रियरिद्रा कुङ्कुमं समर्पयामि, पुष्पै पूजयामि। ओम सुमुखाय नमः, ओम एकदन्ताय नमः, ओम कपिलाय नमः, ओम गजकर्णकाय नमः, ओम लंबोदराय नमः, ओम विकटाय नमः, ओम विकटाय नमः, ओम विनायकाय नमः, ओम धूमकेतवे नमः, ओम घनाध्यक्षाय नमः, ओम पालचंद्राय नमः, ओम गजाननाय नमः, ओम वक्रतुण्डाय नमः, ओम शूर्पकर्णाय नमः, ओम हेरम्बाय नमः, ओम स्कंदपूर्वजाय नमः, ओम सिद्धिविनायक स्वामिने नमो नमः। ओम नानाविधपरिमलपत्रपुष्पै पूजयामि, धूपमाग्रापयामि, दशांगं गुग्गुलं धूपं सुगन्धं स्मनोहरं बिलागरसंयुक्तं धूपोऽयं प्रतिगृह्यताम्। प्रत्यक्षदीपं दर्शयामि, दीप्यस्य जातवेदोपज्ञन्नररतिं मम सदस्य मह्यमावह जीवनं च दिशो दिश मानो हिंसी जातवेदो गामस्वं वर्षं जगत् अभिभ्रदग्नागिः श्रियामापरिपातयदुपदिवानन्द्रमाचमनीं समर्पयामि, नैवेद्यं निवेदयामि। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। सत्यं त्वर्थेन परिषिञ्चामि, मृतोपस्तरणमस्तमस्तोपस्तरणमसि स्वाहा। प्राणाय स्वाहा, पानाय स्वाहा, व्यानाय स्वाहा, उदानाय स्वाहा, समानाय स्वाहा, ब्रह्मणे स्वाहा। नैवेद्यानन्तरमाचमनीं समर्पयामि। पूजेफलसमायुक्तं नागवल्ली तलैर्युतं कर्पूर्णचूर्णसंयुक्तं ताम्बूलं प्रतिगृह्यताम्। येलालवङ्गसंयुक्तं ताम्बूलं समर्पयामि। कर्पूरनीराजनं दर्शयामि, नीराजनं सुमाङ्गल्यं सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभम् अहं भक्त्या प्रदास्यामि, स्वीकुरुष्वदयानिधे। न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चन्द्रतारकं, नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतोऽयमग्निः। तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं, तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं मे भाति। नीराजनन्तरमाचमनीं समर्पयामि, सर्वपापपनोदनार्थान् रक्षान् धारयामि। अतः पंचमुखभोजाञ्च करिष्ये। ॐ संवर्धाग्नितडित्प्रदीप्तकनक प्रस्पर्तितेजोरुणं गम्भीरध्वनिसामवेदजनकं ताम्राधरं सुन्दरम् अर्धेन्दुदुतिलोलपिङ्गल जटाभारप्रबद्धोदकं वन्दे सिद्धसुरासुरेन्द्रनमितं पूर्वमुखं शूलिनः। ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय, ॐ ह्रीं नमः शिवाय, पूर्वाङ्गमुखाय नमः, तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे महादेवाय धीमहि तन्नो रुद्र प्रचोदयात्। अघोरेभ्यो तघोरेभ्यो घोरघोरतरेभ्यः सर्वेभ्य सर्वेभ्यो नमस्ते अस्तु रुद्ररूपेभ्यः कालाभ्रभ्रमराञ्जनदुतिनिभं व्यावृत्तविङ्गेक्षणं कर्णोद्भासितभोगिमस्तकमणिं बृहद्भिन्नदंष्ट्राङ्कुरं सर्पप्रोतकपालं शुक्तिसकलं व्याकीर्णता शेखरं वन्दे दक्षिणमीश्वरस्य वदनं चातर्वनादोदयम् ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय ॐ ह्रीं नमः शिवाय दक्षिणाङ्गमुखाय नमः सद्यो जातं प्रपद्यामि सद्यो जाताय वै नमो नमः भवे भवेनाति भवे भवस्व मां भवोद्भवाय नमः चलम इंदुकुंदधवलं गोक्षीरफेन प्रभं भस्माभ्यङ्गमनङ्गदेहदहनं ज्वालावलिलोचनं ब्रह्म विष्णु मरुद्गणार्चितपदं ऋग्वेदनादोदयं वन्देहं सकलं कलङ्करहितं स्थानोर्मुखं पश्चिमं ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय ॐ ह्रीं नमः शिवाय पश्चिमाङ्गमुखाय नमः वामदेवाय नमो ज्येष्ठाय नमः श्रेष्ठाय नमो रुद्राय नमः कालाय नमः कलविकरणाय नमो बलविकरणाय नमो बलाय नमो बलप्रमतनाय नमः सर्वभूतदमनाय नमो मनोन्मनाय नमः गौरं कुङ्कुमपङ्कितं सुतिलकं व्यापाड्डबण्डस्थलं भ्रूविक्षेपकटाक्षवीक्षणलसत् संसिक्तकर्णोत्फलं स्निग्धं बिम्बफलाधरं प्रहसितं नीलालकालाङ्कृतं वन्दे याजुषवेदघोषजनकं वक्त्रं हरस्योत्तरम् ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय ॐ ह्रीं नमः शिवाय उत्तराङ्गमुखाय नमः ईशानः सर्वविद्यानां ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्माधिपतिर्ब्रह्मणोऽधिपतिः ब्रह्मा शिवो मे अस्तु सदा शिवो व्यक्ताव्यक्तनिरूपितं च परमं तत्त्वं स तत्त्वादिकं तस्माद् उत्तरतत्त्वमक्षरमिति ध्येयं सदा योगिभिः ओंकारादि समस्त मंत्रजनकं सूक्ष्मातिसूक्ष्मं परं वन्दे पंचममीश्वरस्य वदनं कव्यापि तेजोमयं ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय ॐ ह्रीं नमः शिवाय ऊर्ध्वाङ्गमुखाय नमः. That completes our Panchamukha Puja. Now we will do Lagunyasam. So those of you who know it, please chant with me. If not, those of you online, you can also find digital copies of Lagunyasam. We have a couple of copies here, so please chant along. Start the Lagunyasam. Om Matatmanam Shivatmanam Shri Rudra Rupam Dhyahet Shuddhaspadiga Sankasam Trinetram Panchavakrakam Gangadaram Dashabhujam Sarvabharanabhushitam Nilagrivam Sashankam Nagayajnapavitinam Vyagracharmottarhiyancha Bharenyamabhayapradam Kamandhalvakshasutranam Dharinam Shulapaninam Jalantam Pingala Jatashikam Dharinam Ushaskanda Samaharudam Umate Hardadharinam Amurte शान्तं दिव्यभोगसमन्वितं दिग्देवतासमायुक्तं सुरासुरनमस्कृतं नित्यं च शाश्वतं शुद्धं ध्रुवम् अक्षरमव्ययम् सर्वव्यापिनमीशानं रौद्रं भैविश्वरूपिणम् एवं ध्यात्वा दुजः सम्यक् ततो ह्यजनमारभेत। ॐ प्रजनने ब्रह्मा तिष्ठतु पादयो विष्णुतिष्ठतु हस्तयो हरतिष्ठतु बाह्वोरिन्द्रतिष्ठतु जठरे अग्नितिष्ठतु हृदये शिवतिष्ठतु कण्ठे वसवतिष्ठन्तु वक्त्रे सरस्वती तिष्ठतु नासिकया भार्तिष्ठतु नयनयो चन्द्रादित्यो तिष्ठेताम् कर्णयोरश्विनो तिष्ठेताम् ललाटे रुद्रा तिष्ठन्तु मूर्ध्न्यादित्या तिष्ठन्तु शिरसि महादेव तिष्ठतु शिखायां वामदेव तिष्ठतु पृष्ठे पिनाकी तिष्ठतु पुरतः शूली तिष्ठतु पार्श्वयो शिवाशङ्करौ तिष्ठेताम् सर्वतो भायुर्तिष्ठतु ततो बहिर्सर्वतो अग्निर्ज्वालामाला परिवृततिष्ठतु सर्वे संगेषु सर्वा देवता यथास्थानं तिष्ठन्तु मां रक्षन्तु सर्वान् महाजनान् रक्षन्तु। ॐ अग्निर्मे वाचि श्रुतः वाक्हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि वायुर्मे प्राणे श्रुतः प्राणो हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि सूर्यो मे चक्षुषि श्रुतः चक्षुर्हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि चन्द्रमा मे मनसि श्रुतः मनो हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि दिशो मे श्रोत्रे श्रुताः श्रोत्रगं हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते आपो मे रेतसि श्रुताः रेतो हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि पृथिवी मे शरीरे श्रुताः शरीरगं हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि ओषधि वनस्पतयो मे लोमसु श्रुताः लोमानि हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि इन्द्रो मे बले श्रुतः बलगं हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि पर्जन्यो मे मूर्ध्नि श्रुतः मूर्धा हृदये हृदयं मयि अहम् अमृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि ईशानो मे मन्यो श्रुतः मन्योर्हृदये हृदयं मयि अहम् अमृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि आत्मा महात्मनि श्रुतः आत्मा हृदये हृदयं मयि अहम् अमृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि पुनर्महात्मा पुनरायुरागात् पुनः प्राण पुनराकूतमाकात् वैश्वानरो रश्मिभिर्वृधानः अन्तत्तिष्ठत् अमृतस्य गोपाः अस्य श्रीरुद्राध्याय प्रश्नमहामन्त्रस्य अघोर ऋषिः अनुष्ठिप् छन्दः शङ्करकृष्णमूर्तिस्वरूपो योऽसावादित्य परमपुरुष स एष रुद्रो देवता। ॐ नमः शिवायेति बीजं शिवतरायेति शक्तिः महादेवायेति कीलकम् श्रीसाम्ब सदा शिवप्रसाद सिद्ध्यर्थे जपे अभिनियोगः। ओम अग्निहोत्रात्मने अंगुष्ठाभ्यां नमः दर्शपूर्णमासात्मने तर्जनीभ्यां नमः चातुर्मास्यात्मने मध्यमाभ्यां नमः निरूढवसुबन्धात्मने अनामिकाभ्यां नमः ज्योतिष्ठोमात्मने कनिष्ठिकाभ्यां नमः सर्वकृत्वात्मने करतलकरपृष्ठाभ्यां नमः अग्निहोत्रात्मने हृदयाय नमः दर्शपूर्णमासात्मने शिरसे स्वाहा चातुर्मास्यात्मने शिखायै वषट् निरूढवसमन्दात्मने कवचायुहं ज्योतिष्ठोमात्मने नेत्रत्रयाय होषम् सर्वकृत्वात्मने अस्त्राय पठ भूर्भुवस्सुवरोमिति दिग्बन्धः ध्यानम् आपातालनभस्थलान्तभुवन ब्रह्माण्डमाविस्फुरत् ज्योतिष्पाटिकलिङ्गमौलिविलसत्पूर्णेन्दुवान्तामृतैः अस्तु काप्लुतमेकमीशमनिशं रुद्रानुवाक्काञ्जपन् ध्यायेद्दीप्सितसिद्धये ध्रुवपदं विप्राभिषिञ्चेक्षिवम् ब्रह्माण्डव्याप्तदेहवसितिमरुचा भासमाना कंठे काला कपर्धा कलित शशिकला चण्डकोदण्डहस्ताः त्रयक्षा रुद्राक्षमाला प्रणतभयहरा साम्बवा मूर्तिभेदाः रुद्रा श्री रुद्र सूक्त प्रकटित विभव न प्रयच्छन्तु सौख्यम् ओम गणानान्त्वं कविं कवीनामुपमस्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् सञ्च मे मयश्च मे प्रियञ्च मे निकामश्च मे कामश्च मे सौमनसश्च मे भद्रञ्च मे श्रेयः वश्यच्च मे यशच्च मे भगच्च मे द्रविणञ्च मे यन्ता च मे धर्ता च मे क्षेम धृतिच्च मे विश्वञ्च मे महच्च मे संविच्च मे ज्ञात्रञ्च मे सूच्च प्रसूक्ष मे क्षीरञ्च मे लयञ्च मरुतञ्च मे मृतञ्च मे यक्ष्मञ्च मे नामयच्च मे जीवादुच्च मे दीर्घायुत्वञ्च मे नमित्रञ्च मे अभयञ्च मे शुगञ्च मे शयनञ्च मे सूषा च मे सुदिनञ्च मे ओम शांति शांति शांति. Now we will start our Rudram. So Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Namaste Rudramhanyavabhutota Ishabhe Namaha. Namaste Astu Danvane Bahubhyam Utate Namaha. Yatayishu Shivatama Shivam Bhabhuvate Danuho Shiva Sarabhyaya Tavatayano Rudramudayam Yate Rudra Shiva Tanura Ghora Papakashini Tayanastanu Vashantamaya Girishanta Bichakashihi Yamishangirishanta Haste Bibharsyastave Sivangiritratang Kurumahigam Se Purushan Jagatam Shivena Vachasatva Girisacha Vadamatim Yatana Sarvam Jagata Yakshmagam Sumana Asatam Adhyavocha Dadi Bhakta Pratamo Dhaivyo Bishakam Ahigincha Sarvaham Jambayan Sarvahashayatu Dhanyaham Asauyastamro Arunabhuta Bhabrush Mangalaham Eche Magham Rudra Abhito Dhikshusruta Sahasraso Vaishagam Hedayimahim Asavya Vasarpadhini Lagrivo Vilohitaham Utainangopa Adrshanadrshanudaharyaham Utainam Vishwa Bhutani Sadrishta Madayatinaham Namastu Nilagrivaya Sahasrakshaya Mirushe Ato ye asya sattvanhoham tebhyo karannamaham Pramunchadanvanasvamubayorat niryorjyam Yasya te hasta ishava parata bhagavavapan Avatatyadan visvagam sahasrakshasade Nishirya shalyanamukha shivona sumana bhavan विज्यन्दनः कपर्दिनो विशल्यो बाणभागं मुत एषन्नस्येषव आबुरस्य निषङ्गतिः याते हेतिर्मे दुष्टमहस्ते बभूव ते धनुः ताह्यास्मान् विश्वतस्त्वमयक्ष्मया परिभुजम् नमस्ते अस्त्वायुधाय नातताय धृष्णवे उभाभ्यामुतते नमो बाहुभ्यां तव धन्वने परिते धन्वनो हेतिरस्मान् वृणक्थ विश्वतः अतो ये सुदुस्तभारे अस्मन्निदेहितं शम्भवे नमः। नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बका त्रिपुरान्धकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नित्याय मृत्युञ्जयाय। Rudra Abishekam, you have to stand here, not go in front of them. Rudra Abishekam, don't go in front of the camera, just stay on the side here. जब अभिषेक करेंगे ना तो साइड में करेंगे। नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जय सर्वेश्वराय सदा श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। नमो हिरण्यबाहवे सेनान्ये दिशाञ्च पतये नमो नमो वृक्षे यो हरिकेशेभ्यः पशूनां तये नमो नमः सस्पिञ्जराय तुसीमते पतीनां पतये नमो नमो बप्लुसाय विभ्यादिनेन्नानां पतये नमो नमो हरिकेशायोपवीतिने पुष्टानां पतये नमो नमो भवस्य हेत्यै जगतां पतये नमो नमो रुद्राय तथा विने क्षेत्राणां पतये नमो नमः सूताय हन्त्याय वनानां पतये नमो नमो रोहिताय स्तपतये वृक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो मन्त्रिणे वाणिजाय कक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो भुवन्तये वारिवस्कृताय औषधीनां पतये नमो नम उच्चैर्घोषाय क्रन्दयते पत्तीनां पतये नमो नमः कृष्णभीताय दावते सत्त्वनां पतये नमः। नमः सहमानाय निव्याधिनः व्याधिनीनां पतये निषङ्गिने तेनानां पतये नमो नमो निषङ्गिनैः सिद्धिमते तस्कराणां पतये नमो नमो वञ्चते परिवञ्चते स्ताह्यूनां पतये नमो नमो निचेरवे परिचराय अरण्यानां पतये नमो नमः सृगाविभ्यो जिगागं सद्भ्यो मुष्णतां पतये नमो नमो सिंहभ्यो नक्तञ्चरभ्यो प्रकृन्तानां पतये नमो नमो उष्णेशिने गिरिचराय कुलञ्चानां पतये नमो नमः ईशमद्भ्यो धन्भाविभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः तन्वानेभ्यः प्रतिददानेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः यच्छद्भ्यो विशिषद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमो स्यद्भ्यो विद्यद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमः सीनेभ्यः शयानेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः स्वपद्भ्यो जाग्रद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमः तिष्ठद्भ्यो दावद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमः सभाभ्यः सभापतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो अश्वेभ्यः स्वपतिभ्यश्च वो नमः। नमाभ्यादिनेभ्यो विविध्यन्तेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः उगनाभ्यस्त्रिगंहतीभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः गृत्सेभ्यो गृत्सपदिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो व्रातेभ्यो व्रातपदिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो गणेभ्यो गणपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो विरूपेभ्यो विश्वरूपेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो महद्भ्यः शुल्लकेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो रतिभ्यो अरतेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो रतेभ्यो रथपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः सेनाभ्यं सेनानिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः शत्रुभ्य संग्रहीतृभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः तक्षद्भ्यो रथकारेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः कुलालेभ्यः कर्मारेभ्यश्च वो नमः पुञ्जिष्टेभ्यो निषादेभ्यश्च वो नमः शिखृद्भ्यो धन्मकृद्भ्यश्च वो नमो मृगयेभ्यः स्वनेभ्यश्च वो नमः स्वभ्यः स्वपदिभ्यश्च वो नमः नमो भवाय च रुद्राय च नमः सर्वाय च पशुपतये च नमो नीलग्रीवाय च शितिकण्ठाय च नमः कपर्दिने च व्यप्तकेश च नमः सहस्राक्षाय च सतधन्वने च नमो गिरिशाय च शिपिभिष्ठाय च नमो मेरुष्टाय च यशुमते च नमो ह्रस्वाय च वामनाय च नमो बृहते च वर्षीयसे च नमो वृद्धाय च संवृद्भने च नमो अग्रिहाय च प्रथमाय च नमः शवे चाजिराय च नमः शीघ्रिय च शीभ्याय च नमः होर्म्याय च वस्वन्याय च नमः स्रोतस्याय च द्वीभ्याय च नमः ज्येष्ठाय च कनिष्ठाय च नमः पूर्वजाय च परजाय च नमः मध्यमाय च अपकल्पाय च नमो जगन्माय च पत्न्याय च नमः शोभ्य प्रतिसत्याय च नमो याम्याय च क्षेम्याय च नमः वर्पत्याय च कल् च नमः श्लोक्याय च अवसान्याय च नमो वन्याय च कक्ष्याय च नमः श्रवाय च प्रतिश्रवा नमः शुसेनाय च सुरताय च नमः सूराय च अवभिन्दते च नमो वर्मिने च वरुतिने च नमो बिल्मिने च कवचिने च नमः श्रुताय च सुतसेनाय च नमाधन्धप्याय च हनन्याय च नमो दृष्णवे च प्रमृषाय च नमो धूताय च प्रहिता च नमो निषङ्गिने च सिद्धिमते च नमः थेक्ष्णे च वेचायुधिने च नमः स्वायुधाय च सुधन्वने च नमः श्रुत्याय च पत्याय च नमः काट् च नेप्याय च नमः सूद्याय च सरस्याय च नमो नाद्य वैशन्ताय च नमः कोप्याय च वट्याय च नमो वर्ष्याय च अवर्ष्याय च नमो मेघ्याय च विद्युत्याय च नमः हीद्रिय अधप्याय च नमो वात्याय च रेश्म्याय च नमो वास्तव्याय च वास्तु वाय च हर हर नमः सोमाय च रुद्राय च नमस्ताम्रम् अरुणाय च नमः शङ्गाय च पशुपतये च नमः उग्राय च भीमाय च नमो अग्रे वदा दूरे वदाय च नमो हन्त्रे च हनीयसे च नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यो नमस्ताराय नमः शाम्भवे च मयोभवे च नमः शङ्कराय च मयस्कराय च नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च ॐ नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च ॐ नमः ॐ नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च 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 ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च ॐ नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च ॐ नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च ॐ नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय ॐ नमः Om Nama Shivaya cha Shivatara. Om Nama Om Nama Shivaya cha Shivatara cha. Om Namastirtyaya cha Kolyaya cha Nama Paryaya cha Bharyaya cha Nama Prataranaya cha Uttaranaya cha Nama Tharyaya cha Ladyaya cha Nama Shaspyaya cha Venyaya cha Nama Sikatyaya cha Prabhahyaya cha Nama Hiranyaya cha Prabhadyaya cha Nama Kigam cha Kshayanaya cha Nama Kabardine cha Pulaste cha Nama Kastya cha Grishyaya cha Namastalpyaya cha Geshyaya cha Namakatya Rahvateshtaya cha Namo Hridayaya cha Niveshpyaya cha Namapam Savyaya cha Rajasyaya cha Namasaskyaya cha Hrityaya cha Namam Lopyaya cha Ulapyaya cha Namahodvyaya cha Sormyaya cha Namapanyaya cha Parnasatyaya cha Namapaguramana Abhegate cha nama akidate cha prakidate cha namo vakirikebhyo deva nagam hridaye vyo nama vikshinakebhyo nama vichinvat kebhyo nama nirhatebhyo namami vatkebhyah Drape andasaspate dharidhrannilalohitam yesam purush yesam pashunam mabeyarma romo yesham kinchana mamat yate Rudra Shiva tano Shiva Visvahabeshaji Siva Rudrasya Veshaji Taya Namada Jivase Yimagam Rudraya Tavase Kapardine Kshayadviraya Prabaramahe Matim Yatana Samasadhipadhe Chatuspathe Vishwam Pushtangrame Asminnanaturam Vardano Rudro Tanho Mayaskridikshayadviraya Namasa Videmate Yachanchayoscha Manuraya Je Pita Tadashyama Tava Rudra Pranito Mano Mahanta Mutamano Arbhakam Mana Vukshanta Mutamana Vukshitam Ano Vadi Pitaram Mota Mataram Priya Anastano Rudrarisha Manastoke Tanaye Mana Ayushimana Asve Suririsha Viran Mana Rudra Bhamito Vadirha Vismanto Namasa Vidhemate Arate Ghagnavota Purushakne Shayadvirayasam Namasmete Astu Rakshachano Adisha Deva Bruyata Shanham Sarma Yachadvivarham Stuhi Srutangartha Sadham Yuvanam Raganna Bhimam Upahatnam Hagram Mrida Jaritre Rudrastavano Anyante Asmannivapantu Senaham Parino Rudrasya Hetrvranakta Varitveshasya Dhurmatiraghayo Avastira Magavadvyasthanasvamedvastoka Yatanayaya Mridayam Medashtama Sivatama Shivona Sumanabhava Parame Vrikshayidham Nidaya Kritim Masana Charam Vinakam Vibradagahim Vikirida Vilohita Namaste Astu Bhagavaham Yaste Sahasragam Heta Yonyamasmannivapantu Taham Ahasrani Sahasrada Bahu Hostava Hetayaham Asami Shano Bhagavaparhachi Namakakridim Sahasrani Sahasraso ये रुद्रा अधे भौम्यां तेषागं सहस्रयोजने वदन्वानि तन्मसि अस्मिन् महत्यर्णवेऽन्तरिक्षे भवादि नीलग्रीवासिधिकण्ठाः सर्व अधः क्षमाक्षराः नीलग्रीवासिधिकण्ठादिवगं रुद्रा उपसृताः ये वृक्षेषु सस्पिञ्जरा नीलग्रीवा विलोहिताः ये भूतानाम् अधिपतयो विशिखासक्कभर्दिनः ये अन्नेषु विविध्यन्ति पात्रेषु पिबतो जनान् ये पदाम्बदिरक्षय हैलभृदाय व्युदः ये तीर्थानि प्रचरन्ति सृकावन्तो निषङ्गिनः ये हेतावन्तश्च भूयागं सच्चदिशो रुद्राविदस्तिरे तेषागं सहस्रयोजने वदन्वानि तन्मसि नमो रुद्रेभ्यो ये पृथिव्यां ये अन्तरिक्षे दिवि ये सामह्नं वातावर्षमिषभस्तेभ्यो दश प्राचीर्दश दक्षिणास प्रतीचेर् दशोदीचीर्दशोद्वास्तेभ्यो नामस्ते नामडयन्तु ते यं दुष्मो यश्च नो द्वेष्टितं वो जम्बे ददामि त्रयम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय त्रयम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय ॐ त्रयम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् त्रयम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् त्रयम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् यो रुद्रोऽग्नभ्योऽप्सयो सदीशयो रुद्रो विश्वाभुवना विवेश तस्मत् रुद्राय नमोऽस्तु तमुष्टिः सुसुदन्वाय विश्वस्य चैति भेषजस्य यक्ष्वा महेशो मनसाय रुद्रन्नमो अभिद्धेवमसरन्धुवस्य अयं मे हस्तो भगवान् अयं मे भगवत्तरः अयं मे विश्वभेषजोऽयं शिवाभिमर्शनः एते सहस्रमयुधं पाशा मृत्योमर्त्याय हन्तवे तान् यज्ञस्य मायया सर्वान् वयजामहे मृत्यभे स्वाहा मृत्यभे स्वाहा। ओम नमो भगवते रुद्राय विष्णवे मृत्युर्मे पाहि प्राणानां ग्रन्थिरसिरुद्रोमावेशान्तकः तेनान्नेनाप्यायस्व। नमो रुद्राय विष्णवे मृत्युर्मे सदाशिवोम। एका च मे तिस्र च मे पंच च मे सप्त च मे नव च मे एकादश च मे त्रयोदश च मे पंचदश च मे सप्तदश च मे नवदश च मयेकविंशतिश्च मे त्रयोविंशतिश्च मे पंचविंशतिश्च मे सप्तविंशतिश्च मे नवविंशतिश्च मयेकत्रिंशच्च मे त्रयत्रिंशच्च मे चतस्रच्च मेष्टौ च मे द्वादश च मे षोडश च मे विंशतिश्च मे चतुर्विंशतिश्च मे अष्टाविंशतिश्च मे द्वात्रिंशच्च मे षट्त्रिंशच्च मे चत्वारिंशच्च मे चतुश्चत्वारिंशच्च मे अष्टाचत्वारिंशच्च मे वाजश्च प्रसवश्च पिजश्च कृतिश्च सुवश्च मूर्धश्च व्यश्नियश्चान्त्यायनश्चान्त्यश्च पवनश्च भुवनस् आदिपदिश्च। ओम निरादेवहुर्मनुर्यज्ञनि बृहस्पतिरुक्ता मदानि सगं सुसद्विश्वे देवा सूक्तवाच पृथ्वीमातर् मामाहिगं से मधुमनिष्ये मधुजनिष्ये मधुवक्ष्यामि मधुवदिष्यामि मधुमतिं देवेभ्यो आचमुद्याचगं प्रसृजन्या मनुष्येभ्यस्तं मा देवावन्तु शोभायै पितरो नमसन्तु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हर हर नमः पार्वती पतये 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 हर हर नमः पार्वती पतये। தென்னாடுடைய சிவனே போற்றி நாட்டவர்க்கும் ஏகம் முத்துரையந்தாய் போற்றி பாகம் பெண்ணுரு காவாய் கனகத்திரளே போற்றி அண்ணாமலைக்கு மன்னா போற்றி கடலே போற்றி சிவாய திருச்சிற்றம்பலம் தில்லையம்பலம். ஓம் जातवेदसे सुनवाम सोममराति यतो निदहाति वेदः शनपर्षदति दुर्गानि विश्वा नावेव सिन्धुं दुरितात्यग्निः त्वाम् अग्निवर्णां तपसा ज्वलन्तीं वैरोचनीं कर्मफलेषु जुष्टां दुर्गां देवीं शरणमहं प्रपद्ये सुतरसितरमहम् अग्ने त्वं पारयानव्यो अस्मान् स्वस्ति विरति दुर्गानि विश्वा ओश्च पृथ्वी बहुला न वर्वी भव तोकाय तनयाय संयो विश्वानि नो दुर्गः जातवेदः सिन्धुन्ननाव दुरितादिपर्षि अग्ने अत्रिवन् मनसा गृणानोऽस्माकं बोध्यविता तनूनां पृतनाजिदगं सहमानमग्रमग्नेगं हुवेम परम सदस्तात् सनपर्षदति दुर्गानि विश्वा चामध्येवादिधुरिताध्यग्निः रत्नोऽसि कमीड्य अध्वरेषु सनाश्च होता नव्यत्ससत्से स्वाञ्चाग्ने तनुवं विप्रयस्व स्मभ्यं च सौभगमाय जस्व Gabirjushtamai jhanishiktantavedra Vishnoransanchareman Nakashya Prishtamabhisambhasana Vaishnavim Loka Yigamadayantam Om Katyayanaya Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durge Om Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durgim Prachodayat Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durgim Hara Hara Nama Parvati Padaye
Devendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradham Gurum Mumukshunam Hitatayam Tattva Bodho Vidhiyate. Last week we saw the Sthula Shariram. Just to quickly recapitulate what happened in all the last classes. Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna Adhikarinam. Those who have this qualification of Sadhana Chatushtayam, this fourfold qualification, Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Dhamma, Shatka Sampatti, and Mumukshutvam. So for these people who have these fourfold qualifications, I'm teaching Tattva Viveka. Then the question was asked, what was Tattva Viveka? Tattva Viveka kaha. Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mityeti. The only truth, the only reality is Atma. Everything else other than that, Atma is Mithya. So then the question is Atma kaha. Stula Sukshma Karana Sharira Dyatiriktaha Panchakosha Titaha San Avastha Traya Sakshi Satchidananda Swarupa San Yastishtati Sa Atma. And Atma, he defined Stula Sukshma Karana Sharira Dyatiriktaha as something different from, as something other than the Stula Sukshma Karana Shariras. And the second definition of Atma was Panchakosha Atita San. It is beyond the Panchakoshas. Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. And the witness of the three states, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, Avastha, Traya, Sakshi, witness of the three states. So that's the third aspect of the Atma. Then he said finally the fourth aspect of Atma is Sat Chit Ananda Swarupaha. Stula Shariram Kim, which is Panchikrita Panchamahabhuta Kritam. So it is made of the reconstituted subtle elements. So what is the second aspect of this Stula Shariram according to Adi Shankaracharya? It's Sat Karma Janyam. This Stula Sharira, this Manushya Sharira, is a result of your good karmas that you have done in so many incarnations. So as a result of this is what you have. You were not born as a primitive. You were not born as a pygmy. You were not born as an animal. You're not born as a frog. So we don't know how many millions of years ago, or how many million incarnations ago, whatever you did, good karma, you got this Manushya Shariram. Manushya Shariram Satkarma Janyam. Jantunam Narajanma Durlabha Mataha. Adi Shankaracharya Viveka Chudamani says, The rarest of the rare thing is to get the human birth, because human birth comes after millions and trillions years of evolution. So what is that millions and trillions of evolution? You go through from being that original state of the spirit, you go through all this evolution. Pullahi, Pudai, Kuluvai, Maramahi, Palvirugamahi, Paravayai, Pambai, Kallai, Manidharai, Peyai, Kanangalai, Vallasurarai, Munivarai, Thevarai, Sellanindra Thavara Sangamuttul, Yella Pirappum Parandalithen. Oh my Lord, I have been a grass, I have been a little insect, I have been a little worm, I have been a tree, I have been multiple animals, so many different animals, a snake, a bird, all this I have gone through. Finally, I obtained this human body. So that's what Narajanma Durlabham. So then in the human body, because of good karma, then you attain where you are born, your family circumstances, your parents. So those are all determined by your good karma, because you're not born as a pygmy or primitive. You're not born in a remote forest in an Andaman Nicobar island, or a remote forest in Australia or Africa or India. So you're born as a normal human being because of Satkarmas. So that is the second aspect of the Sthula Shariram. So what is the third aspect? The third aspect, this is Sthula Shariram, is obtained because of the grace of Lord Shiva, so that we can work out our karmas by experiencing the suffering or the joy as per whatever karmas we have done. So while working out this karma, the lesson, the idea is to work out your karmas in such a way that you don't generate any more bad karmas, but you generate good karmas, so that you can realize your oneness with that Shivam, that Sivoham, Sivoham, Sivoham. So this is given to us as like a laboratory. So you work out, and in the process of working out your karmas, there also is you laying your road to moksha. So that is why this shariram is given. So that is the second aspect. The third aspect. This is the third aspect. First was this panchekrita, panchabhuta krita. That was one aspect. Second aspect was because of satkarmas. And the third aspect of the sthula shariram is given to us as a receptacle for working out your karmas. Now, what is the fourth aspect, which is the most main important aspect we have to understand? Because we have this rare human body, even though this is given to us to work out the karmas, this is not going to last forever and ever and ever. Why? Because it exists in the womb, it's born, then it grows, then it changes, then it decays and dies. Because of the last two of the six aspects of this vikara, shad vikara with it. So the last two of this shad vikara is the most important. Kshiyate, it decays. And then decaying, it is gone. It dissolves. Vinashyati. Exists in the womb, comes into being, grows, changes, decays, and dissolves. Like in this picture, there's a little child. It comes in the born, then it grows, vardate, viparinamate, changes, apakshiyate, decays, right here on the right side, and then vinashyati, right here you see the skeleton. So that's what the fourth aspect of this Sthula Shariram is. But remember, the Sthula Shariram is not Atma yet. He's just telling us what is, when he said this Atma is not your Sthula Shariram, in the definition of what the Sthula Shariram, he says these are all one of the aspects. Adi Shankara did this Vaja Govindam, and then he tells us how this body changes. Balastavad Kridashaktahem Tarunastavad Tarunisaktahem. Balastavad Kridashaktahem, childhood I spent in playing, youth by romance, and then Vriddhastavad by worries, afflictions, Parame Brahmani Kopina Saktaha. Never thought of my real identity with the Brahman. Hardly anyone who wants to be lost in the Parabrahman. Parame Brahmani Kopinam, not one. Most of us are going through all this. Nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tadvajjeevitam atishaya chapalam. Just as a drop of water on a lotus leaf, nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tadvajjeevitam atishaya chapalam. That's your life. It dances around for a while and it's gone. Lokam shokahatancha samastam ma kuru dhananjana yahuvana garvam harati nimeshat Kala sarvam maya mayamidam akilam hitva brahmapadantam pravisha viditva. So ma kuru dhananjana yavana garvam. Don't arrogate yourself with the arrogance of, don't be proud, don't be arrogant with your wealth, with the people that are around you, and not by your youth, and because these are all will be gone in a flash. Arati nimeshat kala sarvam. This entire world is maya mayamidam akilam hitva brahma padantam pravisha viditva. So go for the truth, which is the eternal truth here. And then we'll conclude with our most favorite saint, Tirumular, about this body. What he has to say about this body. These three beautiful verses. Urallam Kudi, Olika Alizittu, Perine Niki Penam என்று பெயரிட்டு சூரையங்காட்டில் கொண்டு போய் சுற்றிற்று நீரினில் மூழ்கி நினைவொழிந்தார்களே. Somebody passes away, all the surrounding, all this Urallam, all the villagers come and they cry so loud that everybody can hear. Now they put it in loudspeakers in India. I don't know why. So Perine Niki Penam என்று பெயரிட்டு. And the name is gone. Now it's called Pinam, that body. So, somebody is dead. And the neighbor says, do you know that person so-and-so is dead? Really? I just saw him yesterday. I was just talking to him. So how did he die? Just like that. Then they all come, then they cry. Okay, so then the third question the person asks, so when are they going to take the body? They don't say, when are they going to take so-and-so? They're going to say, when are they going to take the body? So the name is gone. Then what they do? They take it to the cremation ground and set it to fire. Then what they do? They just pour waters on their head and forget that thought of that person. So that's why, when this is a constant ritual in every death, that the kith and kin, and when they go and finish all these final cremation rituals, they pour buckets of water over your head so that you can cool off and then come back to a different reality. So, பேரினில் மூழ்கி நினைப்பொழிந்தார்கள், நீரினில் மூழ்கி நினைப்பொழிந்தார்களே. So, by pouring waters on their head, forget that person. Occasionally you may remember them, but eventually they're gone. But it takes some time. It takes time. Sometimes it's right away, a few days. Sometimes it takes a few months. Sometimes it takes a few years. But eventually the thoughts are all gone. And then he tells you in the next verse, for the question, how did this person die so suddenly? He gives you a very typical scene that could be applied even today. அடப்பண்ணி வைத்தார் அடிசிலை உண்டார் மடன் அல்லாளோடு மந்தனம் கொண்டார் இடப்பக்கமே இறை நொந்ததென்றார் கிடக்கப்படுத்தார் கிடந்தொழிந்தாரே. அடப்பண்ணி வைத்தார். Chettiar has a good business, so he is out there working in his factory, whatever it is, doing something in his business. So he sends one of his servants home, tell madam that I'm coming home for lunch today. So the servant comes and says, oh ஐயா இன்னைக்கு சாப்பாட்டுக்கு வரேன்னு சொல்லிருக்காரு. So he comes, Adapanni Vaitar. Adapanni Vaitar means he sent somebody to have his wife make good lunch for him. Then he comes home for lunch and then has a very good lunch. Mada nallalodu mandanam kondar. So Chettiar is looking at this lunch and then looking at his wife. I don't know who to admire, this lunch or you. You look so beautiful, so pretty today. This lunch is so tasty. Mada nallalodu mandanam kondar. So he had a good time with his wife. And then after a while, he says, "Oh Sivagami, I have a little pain on my left side. Idapakkame irai nondadendrar." Then, oh, please lie down. Let me call the doctor. Let me call the Vaidyar. So he just lays down. Kidakappaduttar, kidandolindare. Before the Vaidyar could come, over. Typical scene of a heart attack today. Tirumala said this thousands of years ago. So the reason we're talking about all this is the Stula Shariram is not permanent. So that is, which is not Atma. So we are identifying ourselves with the Stula Shariram. So that's what we're talking about. And then Tirumala also says that death doesn't leave anybody. It is the most fair judge. So it doesn't give you an exception to anybody. No exception for anybody. And you cannot even buy time with death. Well, it could be the president, it could be the prime minister, you could be the CEO, you could be the Panchayat board, Talaivar, whatever it is. Nattukku Nayagan, president. Nammur Talaimahan, Panchayat board president. Kattichivega Yundri Eri Kadamurai. All of these people have to finally ride this one ride. Where everybody comes behind them. They used to come behind them before when they were alive. But there's this last ride also, they come behind. And when they come behind, and then in front of that body, there'll be a lot of halabalo, the drumming, Paraigotta, Natukku Nambi Nadakindravare. Even the president of this country is having his final journey. Natukku Nayagan Nammur Talaimagan. காட்டிச்சிவிகையொன்று ஏறி கடமுறை நாட்டார்கள் பின் சொல்ல முன்னே பறைகொட்ட நாட்டுக்கு நம்பி நடக்கின்றவாறே. So that's our Stula Sariram, and which is not Atma. So if you have any questions, we will discuss.
Swamiji, I have one question. You talked about the Shat Sampatti, right? The 7 qualifications.
6.
Are they sequential? Or are they? What I mean is, do you develop one after the other, or do they all?
They're all simultaneous. Samadhi, Shatka, Sampattihi.
Okay.
So these are the 6 qualifications, which is one of the 4 aspects called Sadhana Chatushtayam.
Yeah.
First is Viveka, and Vairagya, then this Samadhi, Shatka, Sampattihi, and then the 4th one is called Mumukshutvam, the desire for liberation, for moksha. So in the 3rd aspect, Samadhi, Shatka, Sampattihi, these are the 6 ones. Shama, which is the control of the mind. Dhamma, which is control of the senses. Then Uparama, dedication, you are assigned duties. Then the 4th one is Titiksha, balanced state of mind in suffering or joy. Then the 5th one is Shraddha, faith in the teaching of the scriptures and Vedanta. And the last one is Samadhanam, which is harmony or one-pointedness. So if you look at this, they are kind of simultaneous. Why simultaneous? Because the control of the mind. So how does the mind operate? The mind operates through the senses. The eyes are the worst of the senses, because the rest of the senses operate in your near vicinity, whereas the eye could operate in a long distance mode. So the eye sees something, like you're driving and then at a distance you see ice cream parlor. Your eyes have seen it. Now your mind and buddhi comes into play. The mind says, go and have an ice cream. It's too hot. But the buddhi says, no, last time you had an ice cream, you had a cold. Then you developed a fever. Buddhi says. But the mind says, oh, we're not going to come again this way. Let's go and have it one more time. I'll be okay. So first is, we lost the control with the eye by looking at the ice cream, and then everything comes in. So the eye started first. So that is control of the senses. The control of the mind, they all have to be simultaneous. It doesn't come in a kind of sequence. It doesn't put them in an order. So the mind says, no. Eyes, you turn away from there. Look at your traffic. Otherwise, you're going to go hit somebody. So that's mind control and sense control simultaneously. So that is so far as Shama and Dhamma. Now, Uparama is dedication or commitment to your own assigned duties. Now, when would you deviate from commitment to your duty? When your mind plays tricks with you. If you have your duty, if you have something assigned to do that in your station that you're supposed to do, and the mind says, oh, take a day off, or say, go and do this, or do this, instead of doing what it's supposed to be. While committed to doing my duty, or today is too cold, today is too hot, or today I am upset because something happened, or today I'm happy, let me take a day off. So all this kind of work simultaneously, because if you don't have the stitiksha, balanced mind, you won't be able to dispense your duties, which is called Uparama. So Uparama is dedication to your duty, Titiksha being in a balanced mind. So unless you are in a balanced mind, you won't be able to dedicate yourself to your duty. And then if you study Vedanta and the Guru is teaching something, you have to have faith in all this. Remember, now we are talking about your qualifications for studying Tattva Viveka or Atma Tattvam. So, in order to study Atma Tattvam, Tattva Viveka, in order for you to be able to spend the time and your resources, you have to have faith in the teaching of Vedanta. If you don't believe there is this ultimate Brahman, and if you don't believe this is Atma, then that Jiva Brahma Aikyam, if you don't believe in all these Vedanta teachings, then you're not going to invest your time and effort in learning it. So that is where Shraddha comes in. Now, once all this are there, then you have to have one-pointedness. You can't be distracted. Samadhanam is focused one-pointedness and harmony. Mentally, you have to be in a harmonious state most of the time. So all this kind of work together, Patanjali Yoga Sutra also, when Patanjali says Ashtanga Yoga, we all think there are steps. There are CDs, like CDs in the sense one after the other. No. When he says Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, these eightfold aspects of yoga, people think, oh, I have to do yamas, then I have to do niyamas, then I have to do asanas, then I have to do pranayama, go from one to another. And then I have to concentrate, dharana, then I have to go into meditation, then I go into samadhi. No. They're not sequenced. They have to happen simultaneously. As far as this question is concerned, yes, they are simultaneous.
Thank you, Swami.
Now, the method of logic that Adi Shankaracharya adopts most of the time is what we call Adhyaropa Apavadaha. Adhyaropa Apavadaha. Adhya means superimposition. The mental impression, the mental views, the thoughts that are superimposed on something else, and the typical example in Vedanta is that of the rope and the snake. The image or the illusory snake is superimposed on a rope. Reality is the rope, but the illusory snake, seeing the rope, we think it's a snake. So that illusory knowledge, that illusory understanding of you creating a mental snake and putting it on the rope, it's called superimposition. It's super because you're putting it over the rope, and it's imposition because you are imposing upon it. Imposing upon something that it is not. You are imposing upon a rope, a snake, which is it is not. So it's what's called superimposition. That negating that superimposition, in simple term, all that it means is defining what it is not. So defining, okay, the rope, it is not a snake. It is not whirling around. It doesn't move. So all these things, the negation. So the negation of what it is not, the negation of what we think it is. And then finally, he will tell you what it is. That is called adhyaropa apavadaha, counter-arguing and disposing of all the untruth that was imposed upon something that was truth. So apavadaha. So you have to remember all this. Throughout this teaching, you have to remember that we are talking about Atma. And now in the first part, we are talking about what it is not. Last class, we saw in detail that it is not your Sthula Sarira. Now this class, he will discuss in detail why it is not your Sukshma Sarira. So it is not your Sthula, it's not your Sukshma, it's not your Karana Sharira. Vyatiriktaha, other than that, this is beyond your Panchakosas. The A, B, C, and D, the Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira, and the Panchakoshas, or what are the superimpositions? They are the Adhyasa, the superimposition on the Atma, which it is not, like the snake was superimposed on the rope. And the second most important term that we have to understand in Vedanta is called Upadhi. Upadhi takes on another quality. Upadhi means it's not only superimposing, but it's also conditioning. So conditioning, in other words, we are conditioning the Atma with these qualities which it is not. So Upadhi. So they are called Upadhis. Then Adi Shankaracharya will tell you what it is. So then he says Atma is the witness of all the three states of waking, dreaming, and sleeping. And it is Sat Chit Ananda Swarupaha. So it is other than Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Shariras, is other than the Panchakoshas, the fivefold subtle bodies, which are Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. So all these koshas, five koshas, it's beyond that. And what it is the witness of the three states, and it is Sat Chitananda. So one by one, we will see in detail. So Adhyasa we saw already, it's a superimposition, it's a case of mistaken identity. And Upadhi, the conditioning, Upadhi is that which superimposes its quality on that to which it remains close to. The typical example is if you have a crystal, a quartz crystal, which is colorless. Quartz crystal is colorless, and if you put it closer to a green light, it's going to take on that quality of that green light. Keep it closer to a red light, it will take the quality of the red light. It will appear as if it's red, even though it is colorless. So that color is the Upadhi that superimposes itself on a pure crystal because it is close to the crystal. The same way, these Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Shariras, which are closer to the Atma, so Karana, Sukshma, and Sthula, in that order, closer to the Atma, superimpose the quality of an Atma, making us think that this is what we are. I am this body, I am this mind, I am this buddhi. So that's why Adi Shankaracharya said when he was asked who he was, first he said in his typical way, like we said, I am not this body, I am not the mind. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham. I am not this, I am not this, I am not. That's finally he said what he was. Sivoham, Sivoham, Chidananda Rupam, Sivoham, Sivoham. Now, in all this superimposition, in all these Upadhi conditionings, taking our own example of our own self, each one of us, if you rewind and go back to your childhood days, there was always this one person, whatever your name is, Kumar, Usha, Asha, whatever your names are, always there was this one person, the experiencer. And there was always this experience. The 2-year-old, Mr. Anand, he was the 2-year-old. Then he was 4-year-old. Anand was still there, but he was 4-year-old. Then he was 10-year-old, he was still there. Now, when he was 2-year-old, those situations around him were different. His body was of a certain size, so that time he thought that was him. And then a 4-year-old thought that that was him. And the 10-year-old Anand thought that was him. The 21-year-old thought Anand that was him. But this, who he thought he was, has changed so wildly. What he thought as a 4 years old has absolutely nothing compared to what he thought he was when he was 20 years old. So there was always this experiencer and the experience. So not only that I, that person called Anand, associated with the subtle bodies, the Karana, Sukshma, Sthula Shariras, then after identifying this as me, then the second stage of identification was mine. These are my parents. I go to school, these are my books, these are my friends. So that was the world at that time, which completely changed over the time. The friends changed, the books changed, the schools changed, the colleges changed. Then the college, then the house, then the job. This is my job. This is my office. This is my boss. This is my worker. This is my subordinate. This is my computer. So endlessly. But there was this, all these endless things that we say this is me or mine have always been changing. But there was this one person that never changed, but he was constantly thinking that what it was, him was all this that was surrounding him, even though everything was changing every day almost. Even your body changes every day almost. So Adi Shankaracharya is negating all that. So that you, that Atma, should negate that I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not that. After negating everything, there's nothing else to negate, because the negator, who is negating, cannot negate himself. You cannot say I don't exist, right? You cannot say I don't exist. So it is reference to that I, that you, that real you, that you are defining yourself in terms of all these things that are changing. So the reason we are spending time on this is because this is the crux of this entire teaching. This based on this is what Adi Shankaracharya is telling us, describing all these things in detail that we are really not. Now the logic here is so beautiful. Adi Shankaracharya starts with something that is very close to us, that we can know easily, that we can identify. We know, all of us know our body. So he starts with your body, your Sthula Sharira, telling us this. So this is not your Atma, this is not this Atma, it's not your Sukshma Sharira, it's not your Atma. Then finally, he connects you what you really are. This Atma is not this, but the Atma is this Parabrahman, Jiva Brahma Aikyam. So the first chapter is the Adhikari, qualification, what you need. Second is Atma Tattva Vivekaha. Then he would say Jagat Ki Utpatti, how this entire world came about. Then he would tell you Jiva Brahma Aikyam. Then finally he will talk about moksha or liberation. So if you look at this, style of teaching, if you look at this subject matter in this simple book, very short treatise, this is what religion is all about. Religion is all about this. What is religion? Do you need a religion to tell you how to behave? You really don't. How to behave is common sense. how to behave is common sense. You don't do to the other persons what you don't want him or her to do to yourself. As simple as that. You don't need a religion to teach that. So what do you need a religion for? You need a religion to answer three important questions. What is me? Who is the real me? And what is my relationship to everything that is around here in this world, this creation? And number three, that ultimate reality, Parabrahman or God, whatever you may call it, whatever name you give it, how am I related to? That's how all these three things are related to it. Me, everything around me, and that ultimate reality, God, how all this is related. And if all this is one and the same, how is it that I can realize that oneness with that ultimate reality, Parabrahman or God? So Adi Shankaracharya has basically answered all these questions in this one small treatise called Tattva Bodh. So if you ask anyone, Hindu, what is the ultimate teaching of Hinduism? I don't think many of us would be able to answer. The ultimate teaching of Hinduism is this, that there's not only one God, but only God. Not only one God, but only God. The God is one, Brahman is one, and everything that I see in this universe, in this cosmos, is nothing but him or her. Not only one God, but only God. It is the same that the gold, a chunk of gold, is made into different forms of jewels, necklace, bracelet, and your bangles, all these. So every different form of all this is not only just gold, one gold, but only gold in all these ornaments. So nothing other than gold. So all these different manifestations, that's the ultimate teaching of Hinduism. And the beauty of Hinduism, more than all this, is it throws this challenge at you that this is what we teach. What we are teaching is that your Atma is none of this thing that you think you are, neither your body, nor your mind, nor your intellect, none of this, Manobuddhi Ahankara. What you think you are not that, none of that, but it is that Parabrahman, it is that supreme reality. And then you can realize that. That is a challenge. Challenge means you can realize God within you. And people have taken up the challenge time and again, have proved it, proved the teaching. Yes, I realize my oneness with the divinity. So that is why in Hinduism, every nook and corner, there are these great saints performing all these miracles. But because they have realized their oneness with the divinity, they've taken up the challenge, they've taken up this teaching and the challenge and validated it on themselves, right? Starting from Buddha, who was born as a Hindu, took up the challenge and validated it. Yes, every century there have been saint after saint after saints who have done this. So that is what a real religion is, and that is what Adi Shankara sets out to describe and define. Going into a little more explanation of these mistaken identities and upadhis to bring home certain example. How do we identify with the Sthula Sarira that I am fair complexioned, I am dark, I am tall, I am short, I am thin, I am fat, I am sick, I am healthy, I am energetic. So how you are, all these words that I just used, what were those words? Was that real you, or we were talking about the body? Body. So I am dark, I am fair-skinned, I am tall. So the body, are you tall? Were you tall when you were 2 years old? Were you short? Too short when you were 2 years old? You didn't know until you grew up. So this tall, dark, fat, thin, very fat when you're 10-year-old. Maybe you are a chubby baby when you're a 2-year-old. But all the chubby baby also changed. They became a thin person, thin teenager. And the most beautiful teenager, most charming teenager, turned into a heavyweight person, man or woman, down the line. So all this is that we were identifying with none of that. So that is Stula Sharira. So how did we identify with the Sukshma Sharira? I'm happy. I'm miserable. I'm not in a good mood. I'm angry. I'm angry. So that is not the Atma. That is your Sukshma Sariras. Sukshma Sariras. You're happy, miserable, you're angry, you're hungry. Stula Sarira is hungry, but you feel it in your Sukshma Sariras. Right? But the Stula Sarira and Sukshma Sarira is not you. Atma is not hungry. So that is just to bring home the example of how these upadhis are superimposed on the Atma.
Namo Hiranyabhave Namaham Senhanye Namaham Shanchapataye Namaham Namo Vrikshebhyo Namaham Harikeshebhyo Namaham Pashunam Pataye Namaham Namasaspinjaraye Namaham Tushimate Namaham Patinam Pataye Namaham Namo Baplusaye Namaham Vibhyadinhe Namaham Annanham Pataye Namaham Harikeshaya Namaham Upavhitinhe Namaham Pushtanham Pataye Namaham Namo Pavatsya Hetye Namaham Jagatham Pataye Namaham Namo Rudraya Namaham Atathavinhe Namaham Kshetranham Pataye Namaham Namasutaya Namaham Ahantyaya Namaham Vananham Pataye Namaham Morohitaya Namaham Stapataye Namaham Vrikshanham Pataye Namaham Amo Mantrinhe Namaham Varnijaya Namaham Kakshanham Pataye Namaham Amo Bhuvantaye Namaham Varivaskritaye Namaham Aushadhinham Pataye Namaham Amo Uchchairgoshaye Namaham Akrandayate Namaham Tattinam Pataye Namaham Krishna Vitaya Namaham Davate Namaham Satvanam Pataye Namaham Namasahamanaya Namaham Nivyadinhe Namaham Abhyadininham Pataye Namaham Namakkakubaya Namaham Shanginhe Namaham Stenanham Pataye Namaham Namoni Shanginhe Namaham Isudimate Namaham Taskaranham Pataye Namaham Namo Vanchate Namaham Parivanchate Namaham Stayunham Pataye Namaham Namo Nicherave Namaham Paricharaye Namaham Aranyanham Pataye Namaham Namasrika Vibhyo Namaham Jigagam Sadbhyo Namaham Mushnatam Pataye Namaham Namo Simadbhyo Namaham Naktancharadbhyo Namaham Prakrantanham Pataye Namaham Namo Ushneshinhe Namaham Giricharaye Namaham Kulunchanham. Don't put flowers on top. You'll be hiding. Nishamadbhyo Namaham Dhanbhavibhyo Namaham O Namaham Namatanbhanebhyo Namaham Pratidhanebhyo Namaham Ayachadbhyo Namaham Vishadbhyo O Namaham Mosyadbhyo Namaham Vidyadbhyo Namaham O Namaham Namahasinebhyo Namaham Shayanebhyo Namaham O Namaham Maswapadbhyo Namaham Jagradbhyo Namaham O Namaham Mattishtadbhyo Namaham Davadbhyo Namaham O Namaham Namasabhabhyo Namaham Sabhapadibhyo Namaham O Namaham Namo Ashvebhyo Namaham Swapadibhyo Namaham O Namaham Namabhyadinibhyo Namaham Vividyantibhyo Namaham O Namaham Namoganabhyo Namaham Siddhinhatibhyo Namaham O Namaham Namo Gritsebhyo Namaham Gritsapatibhyo Namaham O Namaham नमो व्रातेभ्यो नमः व्रातपतिभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमो गणेभ्यो नमः गणपतिभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमो विरूपेभ्यो नमः विश्वरूपेभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमो महद्भ्यो नमः शुल्लकेभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमो रतिभ्यो नमः अरतेभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमो रतेभ्यो नमः रतपतिभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमः सेनाभ्यो नमः सेनानिभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमः क्षत्रिभ्यो नमः संग्रहीतृभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमः तक्षभ्यो नमः रतकारेभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमः कुलालेभ्यो नमः कर्मारेभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमः पुञ्जिष्ठेभ्यो नमः निषादेभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमः ईशकृद्भ्यो नमः धन्मकृद्भ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमो मृगयिभ्यो नमः स्वनिभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमः स्वभ्यो नमः स्वपतिभ्यश्च नमः वो नमः नमो भवाय च नमः सर्वाय च नमः नमो पशुपतये च नमः नीलग्रीवाय च नमः अशितिकण्ठाय च नमः कपर्दिने च नमः युक्तकेशाय च नमः नमः सहस्राक्षाय च नमः सदधन्वने च नमः नमो गिरिशाय च नमः शिपिविष्टाय च नमः नमो भीरुष्टमाय च नमः विष्णुमते च नमः नमो ह्रस्वाय च नमः वामनाय च नमः नमो बृहते च नमः श्रीयसे च नमः नमो वृद्धाय च नमः संवृध्वने च नमः नमः अग्र्याय च नमः प्रथमाय च नमः नमः आशवे च नमः अज्राय च नमः नमः शीघ्रियाय च नमः शीभ्याय च नमः नमो हूर्प्याय च नमः अवस्वन्याय च नमः नमः स्रोतस्याय च नमः द्वीप्याय च नमः नमो ज्येष्ठाय च नमः कनिष्ठाय च नमः नमः पूर्वजाय च नमः अपरजाय च नमः नमो मध्यमाय च नमः अपगल्भाय च नमः नमो जगन्याय च नमः बुद्न्याय च नमः नमः शोभ्याय च नमः प्रतिसत्याय च नमः नमो याम्याय च नमः क्षेम्याय च नमः नमो उर्वद्याय च नमः खल्याय च नमः नमः श्लोक्याय च नमः अवसान्याय च नमः नमो वन्याय च नमः कक्ष्याय च नमः नमः श्रवाय च नमः प्रतिश्रवाय च नमः नमः आशुसेनाय च नमः आशुरताय च नमः नमः सूराय अवेन्दते च नमः नमो भर्मिने च नमः वरुतिने च नमः नमो भिल्मिने च नमः कवचिने च नमः नमः श्रुताय च नमः श्रुतसेनाय च नमः नमाधन्धव्याय च नमः अहनन्याय च नमः नमो दृष्णवे च नमः प्रमुषाय च नमः नमो धूताय च नमः प्रहिताय च नमः नमो निषङ्गिने च नमः यशुधिमते च नमः नमः तीक्ष्णे च वे च नमः नमायुधाय च नमः नमः स्वायुधाय च नमः सुधन्वने च नमः नमः श्रुत्याय च नमः पत्याय च नमः नमः काठ्याय च नमः नमः नीप्याय च नमः नमः सूद्याय च नमः सरस्याय च नमः नमो नाध्याय च नमः वैशन्ताय च नमः नमः खूप्याय च नमः वट्याय च नमो वर्ष्याय च नमः आवर्ष्याय च नमः नमो मेघ्याय च नमः विद्युत्याय च नमः ईद्रियाय च नमः आतप्याय च नमः नमो वात्याय च नमः रेश्म्याय च नमः नमो वास्तुपाय च नमः नमः सोमाय च नमः रुद्राय च नमः नमस्ताम्राय च नमः अरुणाय च नमः नमः शङ्गाय च नमः पशुपतये च नमः नमो उग्राय च नमः भीमाय च नमः नमो अग्रे वदाय च नमः दूरे वदाय च नमः नमो हन्त्रे च नमः अनीयसे च नमः नमो वृक्षेभ्यो नमः हरिकेशेभ्यो नमः नमस्ताराय नमः नमः शम्भ मयोभवे च नमः नमः शङ्कराय च नमः मयस्कराय च नमः नमः शिवाय च नमः शिवतराय च नमः नमस्तीत्याय च नमः कूल्याय च नमः नमः पार्याय च नमः अवार्याय च नमः नमः प्रतरणाय च नमः उत्तरणाय च नमः नमाचार्याय च नमः आह्लाद्याय च नमः नमशस्प्याय च नमः वेन्याय च नमः नमः सिगत्याय च नमः प्रभाह्याय च नमः नमः हिरण्याय च नमः प्रपद्याय च नमः नमः खिगं शिलाय च नमः शयनाय च नमः नमः कपर्दिने च नमः पुलस्ते च नमः नमो गोष्ठ्याय च नमः गृह्याय च नमः नमस्तल्प्याय च नमः मगेह्याय च नमः नमः काठ्याय च नमः अह्वरेष्ठाय च नमः नमः हृदयाय च नमः निवेस्प्याय च नमः नमः पांसव्याय च नमः रजस्याय च नमः नमः शुष्क्याय च नमः हरित्याय च नमः नमो लोप्याय च नमः उलप्याय च नमः नमो हूर्याय च नमः शून्याय च नमः नमः पर्ण्याय च नमः पर्णसद्याय च नमः नमोपगुर्रमाणाय च नमः नमाकिदते च नमः प्रकिदते च नमः नमः प्रकिदते च नमः नमो वकिर्हिगेभ्यो नमः नमो वकिर्हिगेभ्यो नमः देवानागं हृदयेभ्यो नमः नमो विक्षीणकेभ्यो नमः उचिन्भत्केभ्यो नमः आनिर्हतेभ्यो नमः आमीभत्केभ्यो नमः द्रापेयं दशस्पथे दरिद्रन्नीललोहितम् येषां पुरुषाणां येषां पशूनां माभेर्मार्होमो येषां किञ्चनाममत् या ते रुद्र शिवा तनु शिवा विश्वाह भेषजी शिवा रुद्रस्य भेषजी तया नामुडजीवसे इमागं रुद्राय तवसे कपर्दिने क्षयद्भिराय प्रभरामहे मतिम् अत शिवोष्टोत्तरनामावली पूजाञ्च करिष्ये। ओम शिवाय नमः, ओम महेश्वराय नमः, ओम शंभवे नमः, ओम पिनाकिने नमः, ओम शशिशेखराय नमः, वामदेवाय नमः, विरूपाक्षाय नमः, कपर्दिने नमः, ओम नीललोहिताय नमः, ओम शंकराय नमः, ओम शूलपाणे नमः, ओम खड्वांगिने नमः, ओम विष्णुवल्लभाय नमः, ओम शेपिविष्ठाय नमः, ओम अंबिकानाथाय नमः, ओम श्रीकंठाय नमः, ओम भक्तवत्सलाय नमः, भवाय नमः, सद्भाय नमः, त्रिलोकेशाय नमः, ओम सिद्धिघंटाय नमः, शिवाप्रियाय नमः, उग्राय नमः, कपालिने नमः, कामार्य नमः, ओम अंधकासुरसूदनाय नमः, ओम गंगाधराय नमः, ओम ललाटाक्षाय नमः, ओम कालकालाय नमः, कृपानिधे नमः, भीमाय नमः, परशुस्थाय नमः, मृगपाणे नमः, जटाधराय नमः, ओम कैलासवासिने नमः, ओम कवचिने नमः, कठोराय नमः, ओम त्रिपुरांतकाय नमः, ओम वृषांकाय नमः, ओम वृषभारूढ़ाय नमः, ओम भस्मोद्धूलित विग्रहाय नमः, सामप्रियाय नमः, स्वरमयाय नमः, त्रयमूर्ति नमः, अनीश्वराय नमः, ओम सर्वज्ञाय नमः, ओम परमात्मने नमः, ओम सोम सूर्याग्निलोक्षणाय नमः, हविषे नमः, ओम यज्ञमयाय नमः, सोमाय नमः, ओम पंचवक्त्राय नमः, ओम सदाशिवाय नमः, ओम विश्वेश्वराय नमः, वीरभद्राय नमः, घानानाथाय नमः, प्रजापते नमः, हिरण्यकेतसे नमः, दुर्दर्शाय नमः, ओम गिरीशाय नमः, ओम गिरीशाय नमः, ओम अनगाय नमः, ओम भुजंगभूषणाय नमः, वर्गाय नमः, ओम गिरिधन्वने नमः, ओम गिरिप्रियाय नमः, कृत्तिवासे नमः, पुराराते नमः, भगवते नमः, ओम प्रमदाधिपाय नमः, ओम मृत्युंजय नमः, सूक्ष्मतनवे नमः, जगद्व्यापने नमः, जगद्गुरवे नमः, यमकेशाय नमः, हास्यजनकाय नमः, चारुविग्रहाय नमः, रुद्राय नमः, ओम भूतपतये नमः, ओम स्थानवे नमः, ओम आहिर्बुद्ध्याय नमः, ओम दिगंबराय नमः, ओम अष्टमूर्तये नमः, मनेकात्मने नमः, सात्विकाय नमः, ओम शुद्ध विग्रहाय नमः, ओम शाश्वताय नमः, ओम कंडपरशवे नमः, मजाय नमः, पाशमोचकाय नमः, मृडाय नमः, पशुपते नमः, देवाय नमः, ओम महादेवाय नमः, व्ययाय नमः, हरे नमः, नेत्रपते नमः, व्यक्ताय नमः, दुष्टपुरहराय नमः, हराय नमः, भुजंगवे नमः, व्यग्राय नमः, सहस्राक्षाय नमः, सहस्रपदे नमः, भोक्तप्रदाय नमः, अनंताय नमः, तारकाय नमः, तांब सदाशिव परमेश्वर स्वामिने नमो नमः। ओम ओम तसांगं गुग्गुलं धूपं सुगंधं च सुमनोहरं कपिलागर संयुक्तं धूपोऽह्यं प्रतिगृह्यताम् दूरस्य दूर्भं दूर्वन्तं दूर्वथं योऽस्मान् दूर्वतितं दूर्भयं वयं दूर्वामस्त्वं देवानामसि सस्रिदमं बप्रिदमं जुष्टतमं वह्नितमं देवभूतमाहुर्तमसि अविर्धानगं ह्रस्व ॐ उद्दीप्यस्य जातवेदो अपघ्नन्नरतिं मम पशोगश्चमह्यमावह जीवनं च दिशो दिश मानोहगिंसि जातभेदो गामस्वं पुरुषं जगत् अभिभ्रदग्नागिः श्रियामां परिपातयम् पर्याप्त्यानन्तरायाय सर्वस्तोमोऽस्ति राष्ट्रमुत्तमं महर्भवति सर्वस्याप्त्यै सर्वस्य जित्यै सर्वमेव तेनाप्नोति सर्वं जयति जयति इति जयति ॐ Today is Adipuram. Vidya Mami just reminded me. So which is Andal's Jayanti, Janma Nakshatra. So we'll offer a couple of prayers. ஓங்கி உலகளந்த உத்தமன் பேர்பாடி நாங்கள் நம் பாவைக்கு சாற்று நீராடினால் தீங்கின்றி நாடெல்லாம் திங்கள் மும்மாறி பெய்து ஓங்கு பெருஞ்சன்னலோடு கயலுகள பூங்குகளை போதில் பொறிவண்டு கண்படுப்ப தேங்காதே புக்கிருந்து சீர்த்த முளை பற்றி வாங்க உடம் நிறைக்கும் வள்ளல் பெரும் பசுக்கள் நீங்காத செல்வம் நிறைந்தேலோ எம்பாவாய். அன்று இவ்வுலகம் அளந்தாய் அடி போற்றி சென்றங்கு தென்னிலங்கை செற்றாய் திரள் போற்றி ஒன்றச் சகடம் உதைத்தாய் பொருள் போற்றி கன்று குணிலாய் எரிந்தாய் களல் போற்றி குன்று உடையாய் எடுத்தாய் குணம் போற்றி சென்று பகை கெடுக்கும் நின் கையில் வேல் போற்றி என்றென்றும் முன் சேவகமே ஏத்திப் பறைகொள்வான் இன்றியாம் வந்தோம் இறங்கேலோர் எம்பாவாய். பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு பல்லாயிரத்தாண்டு பல கோடி நூறாயிரம் மல்லாண்டதின் தோள் மணிவண்ணாம் உன் சேவடி செவ்வித்திருக்காப்பு அடியோமோடும் நின்னோடும் பிரிவின்றி ஆயிரம் பல்லாண்டு வடிவாய் நின் வளர் மார்பினில் வாழ்கின்ற மங்கையும் பல்லாண்டு வடிவார் சோதி வலத்துறையும் சுடராளியும் பல்லாண்டு படைபோல் புக்கு முழங்க அப்பாஞ்ச சன்னியமும் பல்லாண்டே. ஓம் महादेव्यै च विद्महे विष्णुपत्न्यै च धीमहि तन्नो लक्ष्मी प्रचोदयात्. ओम विल्लिपुत्तूर निवासिन्यै विद्महे महादेव्यै च धीमहि तन्नो आण्डाळ प्रचोदयात्. पर्याप्त्यानन्तरायाय सर्वस्तोमोऽस्त्राष्ट्रमुत्तममहर्भवति सर्वस्याप्ते सर्वसिद्धित्यै सर्वमेव तेनाप्नोति सर्वं जयति जयति इति जयति. ॐ मधुभातरुतायते मधुक्षरन्ति सिन्धवः माध्वेन सन्तोषधिः मधुनक्तमुषोषसि मधुमत्पार्थिवघं रजः मधुद्योरस्तु न पिता मधुमानो वनस्पति मधुमागम् अस्तु सूर्यः माध्वीर्गावो भवन्तु नः. मधु 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 Sarvam Madhutvam. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Om Madhuvataritayate Madhuksharanti Sindhavaham Madhyena Santhoshadihim Madhunaktamshosase Madhumatparthiva Dhumrajaha Madhurjarastina Pridam Madhuvanavanaspada Madhamagamastu Suryaham Madhirgavo Bhavantu Naham Madhu 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 Sarvam Madhutvam Nana Vidani Mahanevedhyani Nivedayami. Om Nasta Prakshalam Samaprayami Pada Prakshalam Samaprayami Mukha Prakshalam Samaprayami Tara Bhojam Samaprayami Ujjapala Samayuktam Nagavalita Lohitam Kapurna Chuna Samyuktam Dhambulam Hridhitayalalanga Samyuktam Ambulam Rikalpayami Om Karpura Nirajanam Darshayami Om Nirajanam Sumangalyam Surya Hodi Samaprabham Aham Bhaktya Pradhasyami Srikadeshwadayanidim Nadatra Suryo Bhati Najandra Tarakam Nema Vidyuto Bhati Kutoyam Agnihi Tameva Bantamanubhati Sarvam Asya Vasa Sarvamidam Vibhati Om ईशानः सर्वविद्यानामीश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्मादिपतिर्ब्रह्मणोऽधि ब्रह्मा शिवो मे अस्तु सदा शिवोम्। नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्रयम् त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिव श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमो नमः। हर हर नमः पार्वतीपतये, हर हर नमः पार्वतीपतये, हर हर नमः पार्वतीपतये महादेव। पूर्णिराजनं दर्शयामि राजमन्त्रमात्रं समर्पयामि सर्वपापापनोदनार्थान् रक्षान् धारयामि। मन्त्रपुष्पं समर्पयामि योपां पुष्पं वेद चन्द्रमावापां पुष्पं ययेवं वेद आयतनवान् भवति अग्निर्वा अपामायतनम् यो अग्निरायतनं वेद आपो वा अग्निरायतनम् ययेवं वेद आयतनवान् भवति वायुर्वा अपामायतनम् यो वायुरायतनं वेद आपो वै वायुरायतनम् ययेवं वेद आयतनवान् भवति असौ वै तपन्नपामायतनम् यो मुष्यतपतः आयतनं वेद आपो वा अमुष्यतपतः आयतनम् ययेवं वेद आयतनवान् भवति चन्द्रमा वा अपामायतनम् यच्चन्द्रमसः आयतनं वेद आपो वै चन्द्रमसः आयतनम् ययेवं वेद आयतनवान् भवति नक्षत्राणि वा अपामायतनम् यो नक्षत्राणाम् आयतनं वेद आपो वै नक्षत्राणाम् आयतनम् ययेवं वेद आयतनवान् भवति पर्जन्यो वा अपामायतनम् यः पर्जन्यस्यायतनं वेद आपो वै पर्जन्यस्यायतनम् ययेवं वेद आयतनवान् भवति संवत्सरो वा अपामायतनम् यः संवत्सरस्यायतनं वेद आपो वै संवत्सरस्यायतनम् ययेवं वेद योऽप्सुनाभं प्रतिष्ठितां वेद प्रत्येव तिष्ठति राजाधिराजाय प्रसह्य साहिने नमो भयं वै श्रवणाय कुर्महे समे कामान् कामकामाय मह्यं कामेश्वरो वै श्रवणो ददातु कुबेराय वै श्रवणाय महाराजाय नमः। भुजगेश्वर स्वामिने नमो नमः। वेदोयुक्त मंत्र पुष्पम समर्पयामि। Please offer your flowers. ओम ऋषिगण वंदित स्वामिने नमो नमः। ऋग्वेद प्रियः ऋग्वेदमवतारय।
ओम अग्निमीले पुरोहितं यज्ञस्य देवं ऋत्विजं पोताहारं रत्नदातमं हरिः ओम।
ओम यज्ञ रक्षक स्वामिने यजुर्वेद प्रियः यजुर्वेदमवतारय।
विशेषोऽचत्वाय वक्तोपाय वस्तदेवो वत्सविता प्रपयतु श्रेष्ठतमाय कर्मणे हरिः ओम।
सांब सदाशिव परमेश्वर स्वामिने नमः। सामगान प्रियः सामवेदमवतारय।
ओम अग्नायाहि पीतये गृहाणो हव्यतातये निहोत सत्सि बर्हिषि हरिः ओम।
ओम आगम रक्षक स्वामिने अथर्वण वेद प्रियः अथर्वण वेदमवतारय।
सन्नो देवीरभिस्तय आपो भवन्तु पीतये संयोरभिस्रवन्तु नः हरिः ओम। न कर्मणा न प्रजया धनेन त्यागेन केऽमृतत्वमानशोः परेण नाकं निहितं गुहायां विभ्राजते तद्यतयो विशन्ति वेदान्तविज्ञानसुनिश्चितत संन्यासयोगद्यतय शुद्धसत्त्वाः ते ब्रह्मलोके तु पराहन्तकाले परामृतात् परिमुच्यन्ति सर्वे दह्रं विपापं परमेश्मभूतं यत्पुण्डरीकं पुरमध्यसकस्थं तत्रापि दर्हं गगनं विशोकस्तस्मिन् यदन्तस्तदुपासितव्यं यो वेदादौ स्वरप्रोक्तो वेदान्ते च प्रतिष्ठितः तस्य प्रकृतिलीनस्य यः परः स महेश्वरः
हरिः ओम। ज्ञान संबंधವಾಗಿ ಸಾಲಾಲ ಸುಂದರ ಮಣಿವಾಚಗಾದಿಗೀಯಮಾನ ಸ್ತೋತ್ರ ಪ್ರಿಯಃ ದೇವಹಾರ ಪ್ರಿಯಃ ದೇವಹಾರಮವತಾರಯ. ಸಕ್ಷುನೈ கற்றுனை போட்டியோர் கடலில் பாய்ச்சினும் நற்றுணையாவது நமச்சிவாயவே. நற்றுணையாவது நமச்சிவாயவே. அன்னல்லே என ஆண்டு கொண்டருளிய அமுதே விண்ணிலே மறைந்து அருள் புரி வேதநாயகனே கண்ணினால் திருக்கையிலையில் இருந்த நின் கோலம் நன்னி நான் தொழ மகிழ்ந்தருள் புரியன பணிந்தவார் வேதநெறி தழைத்தோங்க மிகு சைவத்துறை விளங்க வேதநெறி தழைத்தோங்க மிகு சைவத்துறை விளங்க பூத பரம்பரை பொலிய புனிதவாய் மலர்ந்தழுத சீதவள வயற்புகலி திருஞான சம்பந்தர் பாத மலர் தலை கொண்டு திருத்தொண்டு பரவுமாம் வாழ்க வந்தனர் வானவர் ஆனினம் வாழ்க வந்தனர் வானவர் ஆனினம் வீழ்க தன்புணல் வேந்தனும் ஓங்குக ஆழ்க தீயதெல்லாம் அரண் நாமமே சூழ்க வையகமும் துயர் தீர்கவே. வான்முகில் வளாது பெய்க மலிவளம் சுரக்க மன்னன் கோன் முறை அரசு செய்க குறைவிலாதுயிர்கள் வாழ்க நான்மறை அறங்கள் ஓங்க நற்றவம் வேள்வி மல்க மேன்மைகள் சைவ நீதி விளங்குக உலகம் எல்லாம் மேன்மைகள் சைவ நீதி விளங்குக உலகம் எல்லாம். ஆறிரு தடந்தோள் வாழ்க அருமுகம் வாழ்க வெற்பை ஆறிரு தடந்தோள் வாழ்க அருமுகம் வாழ்க வெற்பை கூறுசை தனிவேல் வாழ்க குக்குடம் வாழ்க செவ்வை கூறுசை தனிவேல் வாழ்க குக்குடம் வாழ்க செவ்வை ஏரிய மங்கை வாழ்க யானைதன் அணங்கு வாழ்க ஏரிய அணங்கு வாழ்க ஏரிய மங்கை வாழ்க அணங்கு வாழ்க மாறிலா வள்ளி வாழ்க வாழ்க சீரடியாரெல்லாம் மாறிலா வள்ளி வாழ்க வாழ்க சீரடியாரெல்லாம். ஹரஹர நம பார்வதி பதையே. வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ரோரா. கண்டியிலே கடம்பனுக்கு ரோகரா. பழமுதிர் சோலை பாலனுக்கு அரோகரா. காவடியாங்காவடி கந்தவேலன் காவடி காவடியாங் ஏ காவடியாங்காவடி கந்தவேலன் காவடி காவடியாங்காவடி கந்தவேலன் காவடி. காவடியாம் காவடி கந்தவேலன் காவடி. கண்டியிலே கடம்பனுக்கு கண்கொள்ளா காவடி. வெற்றிவேலன் காவடி வீரவேலன் காவடி. வெற்றிவேலன் காவடி வீரவேலன் காவடி. வெற்றிவேலன் காவடி. கண்டியிலே கடம்பனுக்கு கண்கொள்ளா காவடி காவடி. காலிமலை வீரனுக்கு விபூதியில் காவடி மலை வீரனுக்கு விபூதியில் காவடி. பழமுதிர் சொலை பாலனுக்கு பஸ்மத்தினால் காவடி பழமுதிர் சொலை பால் பஸ்மத்தினால் காவடி. பழமுதிர் சொலை பாலனுக்கு பஸ்மத்தினால் காவடி பஸ்மத்தினால் காவடி. மதிலேறும் முருகனுக்கு மச்சத்தினால் காவடி மதிலேறும் முருகன் மச்சத்தினால் காவடி. மதிலேறும் முருகனுக்கு மச்சத்தினால் காவடி மச்சத்தினால் காவடி. பழமுதிர் சொலை பாலனுக்கு பஞ்சாமிர்த காவடி பஞ்சாமிர்த காவடி. குழந்தையிலே முருகனுக்கு பால் குடத்தால் காவடி குழந்தையிலே பால் குடத்தால் காவடி. திருச்செந்தூர் வேலனுக்கு சிந்தானத்தில் காவடி திருச்செந்தூர் வேலனுக்கு சிந்தானத்தில் காவடியாங்காவடி கந்தவேலன் காவடியாங்காவடி கந்தவேலன் காவடியாங்காவடி கந்தவேலன் காவடி காவடியாங்காவடி கந்தவேலன் காவடி. ஓம் ஸ்வஸ்தி.
ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं शोभरहितः ब्रह्मणा सन्तु निर्भयाः हरिः
ओम स्वस्ति मंत्रार्था सत्या सबला सन्तु इति भवन्तु महान्तो अनुगृह्णन्तु
तथास्तु।
ओम देवदेवोत्तम देवता सर्वभौम अखिलांडकोटि ब्रह्मांड नायकी श्री विजयी भव सृष्टि सिद्धि संहार तिरोधन अनुग्रह पंचकृत्य परायणस्य अत्र विराजतमान श्री कामाक्षी देवी समेत भुजगेश्वर स्वामिनस्य अत्र अद्यानुष्ठितमानं भानुवासर प्रातःकाल शुद्धोदक गंगोदक क्षीर दधिहाद्य शर्करा मधुरस फलरस चंदन द्रव्यादि भस्म रुद्राक्षोदक अभिषेक आराधनम रुद्र तिर्षति शिवस्तोत्र षोडश उपचारम पूजा मध्ये संकल्प प्रवृद्धि एक क्षण पर्यंतं संभावित समस्त मंत्र लोपे तंत्र लोपे क्रिया लोपे नैवेद्यानित लोपे सर्वं शास्त्र अनुष्ठितं भूयात् इति भवन्तु महान्तो अनुगृह्णन्तु तथास्तु देवदेवोत्तम देवता सर्वभौम अखिलांडकोटि ब्रह्मांड नायक श्री विजयी भव भुजगेश्वर स्वामिने नमो नमः। अत्र आगतमान अनागतमान समस्त यजमानस्य सपरिवारस्य सकुटुम्बस्य समस्त संकट निवारण सिद्धिरस्तु इति भवन्तु महान्तो अनुगृह्णन्तु। ओम देवदेवोत्तम देवता सर्वभौम अखिलांडकोटि ब्रह्मांड नायक श्री विजयी भव भुजगेश्वर स्वामिने नमो नमः। अत्र आगतमान अनागतमान समस्त यजमानस्य सपरिवारस्य सकुटुम्बस्य समस्त संकट निवारण सिद्धिरस्तु धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्ष चतुर्विध फल पुरुषार्थ प्राप्ति सिद्धिरस्तु ईश्वर भक्ति अभिवृद्धि सिद्धिरस्तु शरीरे वर्तिष्य वर्तमानस्य समस्त रोगादि निवारण सिद्धिरस्तु इति भवन्तु महान्तो अनुगृह्णन्तु। देवदेवोत्तम देवता सर्वभौम अत्र अनागतमान यजमानस्य मैत्रिभगाश्वगोत्रोद्भवस्य आर्द्रा नक्षत्रमिथुनराशौ जातस्य गणेशनामधेयस्य तस्य कुमार्याः अनुराधा नक्षत्र वृक्षराशौ जातायाः गानव्या स्वामी नाम्नेः जन्म दिवस उद्देश्य पार्वती परमेश्वर अनुग्रह प्राप्ति सिद्धिरस्तु इति भवन्तु महान्तो अनुगृह्णन्तु। संपूर्ण आयु आरोग्य प्राप्ति सिद्धिरस्तु इति भवन्तु महान्तो अनुगृह्णन्तु। तथास्तु मनोवांछित चिंतित फल प्राप्ति सिद्धिरस्तु इति भवन्तु महान्तो अनुगृह्णन्तु। तथास्तु अयं धर्मो उत्तरोत्तर अभिवृद्धि सिद्धिरस्तु। तथास्तु सत्या ह्येषा आशिषः सन्तु। तथास्तु ओम यानि कानि च पापानि जन्मान्तरकृतानि च तानि तानि विनश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपदे पदे निधा शरणं नास्ति तमेव शरणं मम तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्ष रक्ष भुजगेश्वर। साष्टांग नमस्कारान् समर्पयामि। You have flowers in your hand, go and offer them. Om Brahma Murari Surarchitalingam Nalabhashita Shobhitalingam Janma Jadurka Vinashakalingam Tat Pranamami Evam Mundi Prabharachita Ramadaham Karunadalingam Ravayadarka Vinashakalingam Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Ay Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Om Namah Shivaya. Lingam Bodhi Vipadanakaralingam Bhagatura Lingam Pranamami Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Hi Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Kanakam Mahamani Anipati Veshita Shobhita Linga Akatu Yagna Vinashilinga Pranamami Sutta Sivalinga Om Namah Shivaya 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 Ankama Levital Ankajahara Shishoritalinga Ekshita Papa Pranamami Shivalingam Devagana Bhavaye Bhakti Virevakalingam Dinakara Koti Pranamami Sada Shivalingam Ashtadala Pariveshtisalingam Parvatamodbhavataralingam Pranamami Sada Shivalingam Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Om Namah Shivaya 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 Sura Guru Sura Vara Pujita Lingam Sura Vana Pushpa Sagahachita Lingam Parat Param Param Pranamami Shivalingam Om Namah Shivaya 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 Om Namah Namah Shivaya Tridalam Trigunakaram Trinetram Chatriyayudam Trijanma Papa Samharam Ekavilvam Sivarpanam 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 Ekavilvam Sivarpanam. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 So we will play the second part of what we played during the interval, Adi Shankara's Tattva Bodham, where the most important teaching regarding Adhyasa, superimposition, and Upadhis. So we'll play just that part because this is very important. That's the most important concept of Advaita Vedanta. So Adi Shankaracharya has presented it so beautifully and so simply. So we'll play that part, and then you can watch it. And after that, we would close our service. So as far as puja is concerned, this part concludes our service, and then now we will have Adi Shankara's Tattva Bodham, the concept of dhyasa, superimposition, and the concept of upadhis. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.